Hello sleepyheads, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, let's not forget, if you are new here, my name is Remy and I make ASMR videos. And now the hardest part is over. So for today's video, I'm going to show you my vintage purse collection. It's on the smaller side because I've been slowing way down with my clothing purchases, my fashion purchases, including accessories, and just trying to be more thoughtful. But part of that has been enjoying thrifting and looking especially for vintage clothing and accessories, special vintage finds. So let's take a look together, and I'm going to do what I bought in terms of vintage clothing. I'm going to do maybe I'll just do thrifted and vintage together, but regardless, secondhand clothing I'm going to do in a separate video, and then the few items I have invested in and decided to buy new will be yet another video. So I'll speak more on my process with thrifting in those. I just wanted to break them up, and that'll be more about purchases made in the last year and change. Because I've shown you a good amount of my vintage clothing already in past videos. But for that same reason, a lot of these purses are actually from the last year and change, because I've gotten more into thrifting, and not more into, I guess I've always enjoyed thrifting, and I'm just trying to make it the bulk of the shopping that I do for clothing and accessories. And seeing all the renewed interest in like statement purses, it's been really trendy this year, you know, really unique purses instead of the same silhouettes we've seen over and over. I mean, of course, like Y2K, like crescent shoulder bags and things like that, silhouettes we've seen before have come back. I'm talking like I know anything about fashion, but clearly it's piqued my interest this year, the purse question, because I've always done a very specific thing with my purses. They're almost always crossbodies, generally around the same size, same length of strap. So once I find something I like, I kind of stick to it. But as I've been seeing people really take an interest in not even statement purses, but purses that feel special, like special pieces, lots of fun details, beadwork, like some have had like a kind of shell look to them. I don't know how else to say it, but some of them have been covered in teeny tiny little seashells. Those are things that stuck out to me, and it's definitely opened my mind and made me more interested in getting outside my comfort zone with the purses I carry and investing in some special purses. So I haven't bought any handbags new in a long time, but I have added 4 vintage purses to my collection, and now they are my collection. That's the entirety of my vintage purse collection as far as I can recall. I think I had some like vintage purses among my dress up growing up, because I didn't realize a lot of my grandmother's clothing just became my dress up. So, but I don't think that really counts. It's certainly not something to which I currently have access, although maybe it's in storage. Maybe they're in storage somewhere. But yeah, as an adult, I think these are my first 4 vintage purses. All bought within the last few years. So I guess the point I was making is that to say these are all all the vintage purses I've thrifted or sourced, found in the last year and change is one and the same as saying that I'm showing you my vintage purse collection, whereas there is not that same overlap with my vintage clothing and thrifted clothing. I've shown you items from both categories in the past. Does that make sense? Good. So, I'm so glad we're doing this because I wanted to do this video for... Oops. I'm so glad we're doing this. It's the end of the day and I feel like a bit of a mess. But I've been wanting to do another soft-spoken video. And I've been wanting to do this specific video for a long time. So I'm excited that I have the energy to do it soft-spoken, and then here we are, that it's happening. I've been excited about this video. I feel like I just said that right. I've been excited about this video for a long time. And even though I always inevitably get people who are sad that I didn't do the video whispered, it makes me happy to treat the fans of soft speaking to a special video, one that, feels a video that has main character energy as far as videos go, one that doesn't feel like a throwaway video. Not that I ever try to do throwaway videos, but this is a video I've talked about wanting to do for a while, and I think you get my meaning. So I do like to treat the fans of soft speaking to, to their share of fun ramble topics and show and tells and things like that. So the first purse I'm not going to be able to speak knowledgeably about. Hardly anything to come, but this purse is a beautiful, not quite a burnt orange, not even as red as a terracotta, but it's a slightly muted orange. There's a soft brown toned quality to it. I wouldn't even say it's that brown toned, I'd just say it's really muted and soft. Now this purse has a bit of a hard time opening and closing. A lot of these do, just because some of the mechanisms, like some of the hardware, they just get kind of old and rusty. And a lot of these purses were that metal framed kiss closure style. They clasp together at the top. So those can get kind of creaky and again rusty. So you can kind of hear and maybe see that tightness, the reluctance to open. Now this, confirmed by the price point, but also I made sure to check inside. This is not leather, it's kind of an early version of polyurethane, probably an early version of pleather, is nice because as much as I understand the argument that it's okay to buy leather and even fur, I guess, secondhand, I just don't like to use someone else's skin as far as I can avoid it. Sorry if that makes you uncomfortable. That's just my preference. You know, it can be a little jarring. Oops, let's try again. A little jarring to hear it referred to as skin. So, I'm sorry. That wasn't my intention. It's just how the word came to me because that is kind of how I think of it in my head. And it does make shopping for vintage shoes and belts and purses a little challenging because of the ubiquity, because of how common it was to use leather in those goods for even just the sole. But honestly, leather and shoe wear continues to be an issue today. Like having a leather sole in an otherwise a shoe otherwise only comprising man-made materials, a fabric upper and stuff like that, a wooden heel, rubber heel, and they have like a leather sole. So, but yeah, so I think I'm open to buying like wool secondhand. And maybe if something has a leather sole but is otherwise fabric, I just don't necessarily want to take away someone else's option, like to thrift. Like if they're looking for something specifically with a leather look, or the upper is leather, things like that. Like the leather is the non-negotiable part for them. The non-negotiable part for them. The non-negotiable part for them. Sorry. Then I would hate to kind of bump them back. Like if they didn't find what they were looking for, because I took an item I could live without, and it was neither here nor there for them. Like they were just as fine. They'd just as well buy the item new. They were just seeing if they could find it secondhand for the better deal, or just the thrill of the find, or to, limit their consumption of new goods, as a lot of us are trying to do. I would hate for them to come up empty-handed and be pushed back in the direction of buying leather new. So that's just one of the reasons that I refrain. It's pretty thin, it's not quite as capacious as you might imagine. Although you could definitely put a good book in here and a really slim billfold or wallet. It's got some nice metal hardware. Kind of a brass that's a little tarnished. So yeah, this is a nice bag for the crook of your elbow to wear like this. And really nice for the shoulder. And obviously it goes with a lot of things because it's very soft, very very easy, very workable pop of color. Easy to work into a lot of palettes. Be they warm toned or cool toned, honestly, like you could see this could go really well with. Could go really well with lots of blue toned items, lots of denims, and even non-denim blues. So I took a little longer than I meant to with that purse, but I'm very excited to show you the next one. So I got this at a vintage shop called Star Day. I think it's near Hollywood. And they have it marked as 1960s. And they have it marked as 1960s. And it's a red, white, and blue silk scarf and wood purse, and I got it for $36. Isn't it gorgeous? My friend actually bought it for my birthday, or did I buy it for myself? And she just encouraged me. She definitely bought me at least one of these purses for my birthday. You can see that a lot of the damage was done around that birthday and when my friend was in town. Because she always has such good purses, and she was buying a lot of, and she was looking at and thinking of buying several beautiful vintage purses when we were out together, and it inspired me. As well as that other stuff I was mentioning, but come to think of it, I think she was a big part of it for me too. She really inspires me, always, in all things. But isn't this just 60s gorgeousness? I mean, that was a little awkward in my hand. Got a little caught. I love the shape. Isn't that just beautiful? Each side is different. More of a stripes with almost a horizon. You see that? A little toothpaste squiggle. Sorry. Don't want to give you, if you have that like sensory sensitivity to the sound of dry fingers on fabric, I promise my hands are pretty well moisturized. I just snagged for a second on maybe like one rough edge right there. So yeah, you see this kind of toothpaste squiggle down here, and then over here it's much more abstract. I say as if this isn't very abstract, but to me this feels much more abstract. Like my mind says that the road is coming down from the sky. There we go, sweet little stripes on the bottom. And yes, the handle is wooden. See, I'm very excited, even though buying silk firsthand is not vegan. So this is again one of those items where like I'm comfortable buying it secondhand because I don't think someone is like going out of their way being like it's like a silk scarf, purse, or bust for me, whereas I think people really do look for leather goods secondhand and they're apprehensive to buy. Oh, sorry, that got really exposed. Whereas I do think people really are looking for leather goods secondhand and they're apprehensive to buy anything of like other materials because at that age of the item they don't think it has held up as well or will hold up as well. It's not a good investment or not practical or something like that. So I also like, for me it's like for me also silk and wool for a bunch of reasons I'm not going to get into, just to keep things on topic and relaxing and pleasant. They make me a little less sad and they don't feel quite so bad for me to wear secondhand. But that's, again, something I continue to figure out in the long term. Questions I'm still asking myself. If you've watched my video about just answering questions that you all submitted about veganism, I talk about how part of being vegan is asking these questions and figuring out a lot of this stuff for yourself, because there's not always a consensus in terms of harm reduction, and keeping in mind also like the impact on humans, impact ecologically, all that stuff. So definitely not always consensus on what the best approach is, the most vegan thing to do is. And now I promise I'm not going to talk about that anymore. But it's funny because the question of veganism does come up in clothing shopping, and of course it makes sense that thrift shopping and vintage shopping is a part of that, especially as it predates a lot of these conversations. A lot of these items predate, many alternatives. I love the sound of this wood. Please let me know if you'd like to see any more of any of these items, as always. So, open that. It's very rudimentary and very sweetly simple, but just toggle this up, this little latch. And there you go. There's tissue paper inside from the shop to help it hold its shape. And look at this frame. Look at the wooden frame. I love it so much. And the hinges are in really good shape. It opens and closes with ease, although of course I'm very gentle with it. And the lining is not silk, it's kind of like a faux satin, like a coarser version of the material that a lot of people's pajama pants are made of to this day, assuming most people don't have actually silk or satin pajamas. Incredible piece of history. I love 60s and 70s fashion in particular, as many of you know. Now this one I was not sure about, and my friend convinced me to get it. This is kind of a spree, because most of these were when she was in town, except for the last one, which I'm very excited to show you. So this one is a knitting bag, technically, that I thought would be so cute for the summer, like a beach bag to go with like a summery outfit, or with a bathing suit to cover up, or even just a really beachy, flowy dress. Do you know what I mean? Are you sharing the vision? Good. So it's a kind of... Well, actually, I like the material looking closer in this light. I thought it was a kind of terry cloth that had pilled, and I thought it was not in very good condition. But now looking at it closer, which I invite you to do as well, I see that it's actually just a pretty tight weave of a sturdier, coarser thread. So the texture is the original texture, not wear and tear, not damage. Do you see what I mean? It's okay if not, it may be pretty hard for you to see. So it's got palm fronds and a kind of ecru or ivory background, like base color. Although maybe it's just its age, maybe it's yellowed over time. Maybe it was once a darker white. Look at the details on that front. That leaf, I should say. So this is 1940s, and it's a tropical barred cloth. Oh, I love barred cloth dresses from the 70s. That dress, you may recall, that laces up at the bust, and it looks very late 60s, early 70s. It has the really vibrant fuchsia and has the polka dots all over it. And I'm not someone who normally wears polka dots, but it's a very mod feeling pattern, and it's a halter dress. It's maxi, it's floor length, and it's kind of a column silhouette. And it's kind of a column silhouette from where it laces up under the bust down to the floor. That's barred cloth. And so is this, and it has a loose side top. Loose side to top. And this one, probably because it's much older, was $62. $62. And again, it was technically a knitting bag. Look how capacious. If you trust yourself to take this to the beach or to the pool. Such a fun statement, and it probably holds a good number of books, snacks, sunscreen. Do you hear that? I meant the sound of the loose side clicking together, not the sound of my neighbor having a really good time. Laughing, laughing, laughing. You're going to have to tell me what your favorite is, please. Lastly, I bought this one myself. And again, I was feeling very inspired after my friend visited, and I got really into purses, and now since then I've not bought a new old purse in at least 6 months, probably closer to a year, because my birthday is coming up again. And I do think, I feel like I got this one, I guess I got this one in March or April, because I wore it to a rehearsal dinner for a wedding that took place at the end of April. Are you ready? I hope so. It's more special than I think you can even tell at first. Look at that. I wish I had the information handy. Because those tags from that thrift store, that vintage shop, are very handy in terms of the provenance. That's not the right word, but like the origins, the history behind a piece. So I wish I could tell you more about this one. I think it's 60s, maybe 50s. Could be 50s or 60s. I'll find the information and put it in the description. But as far as I can tell, it has this amazing textile. With these kind of plasticized beads. They feel embedded, like they feel like they were printed like as wet plastic or something onto the fabric. I wouldn't even know. Maybe a stencil lifted off to, create the negative space between them or something, but they're so, what's the word? Perfect, like regulated, or that's not the word. They're so, regimented. I can't think of the word. It's like the word for how perfect the tombstones are at Arlington Cemetery. At military cemeteries where they go in, and if one of them has sunk down or shifted, they write it so that they all look perfect and are in perfect alignment with one another. Very military-esque. So driving past a cemetery like that is quite the visual spectacle, because as your perspective changes, and as you drive past, it really has a lot of visual impact. How perfect it is. Now you can see, like, very fleetingly down each diagonal, down each line. Anyway, that's a bad way to describe it, but that reminds me of this. These little plasticated dots. They're perfect little circles. You might think they're hectagonal or something, not being able to see you super close. So let me let you see super closely so you can see for yourself that they're perfect little dots. And then the colors themselves are pretty random. The palette, repeats. It's a select palette that repeats. You see this green, this pale green, and this little lavender and pink and yellow and pearlescent kind of white. Lots of springy colors, very Eastery, and the whole bag has an opalescent quality, and something about it almost looks like that dragon iridescent because of how much green is in it. You know how I love pale green iridescence. So I loved this. It was love at first sight. And then the bag has this shimmery, creamy, opalescent ivory color to it overall, like at a distance. So the array of colors within is a real surprise for the close observer. And then the handles are white plastic. I'm running low on battery, so we're nearing the end by necessity. But yeah, I really love this bag. I think it's so special. It's just a little tight in the hardware, like it feels reluctant to open. Oh, yeah. So that definitely makes me nervous, because if you look at the hinges, you can tell how old they are. but nothing I couldn't repair, and the fabric itself is the real showstopper to me, and it's in great condition. It's really interesting to feel. It almost has like a chainmail quality. You know what it feels like? It feels like a snake's underside. It really does. Have you ever felt the soft underbelly of a snake? It's special, but I'm sorry if you're scared of snakes, because that's going to give you the heebie-jeebies, I'm sure. My partner's afraid of snakes. And no, he is not Indiana Jones. But I clearly have a type. Why am I shushing you? I meant hold on, sorry. So yes, I would definitely get this repaired if need be. I don't know if you saw a little bit of gold piping on the edge of that inner pocket, and the lining otherwise is really nice, simple, kind of cream colored, not cream, ivory linen. Okay, sleepyheads, that's it. Thank you all so much for watching. Oops, sorry, always does this. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. I hope you get lots and lots of good REM sleep, and as always, I hope all your dreams are sweet. Bye.